The overall landscape around the global financial system is changing. And I know that this sounds like a repetitive statement made on this channel, but if we're thinking about the global financial system, how large it is, all the things tied to it, and if we're thinking about all these changes being made to it, if we are going to usher into a completely new environment around finance, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time. Now, this has been in place for quite some time, but we're now just starting to see some of the much larger changes actually happening or starting. And in this video, I actually want to talk about 4 projects: XRP, XLM, HBAR, and QNT. And of course, yes, we could obviously mention Algorand, we can mention XDC, we can mention, all of these other projects, but I want to focus on these 4 in this video. And we're going to be talking about why. We're going to be addressing it. So with that being said, welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. And also, if you guys are not in the free Discord, what are you guys waiting for? It's completely free. Go and check the link out down in the description below and join the free Discord. There's a lot of great discussions happening every single day in there, and there's a ton of great free value as well for you guys. So with that being said, let's talk about what's going on. Now, number one, when we talk about XRP, when we talk about XLM, when we talk about HBAR or QNT, the discussions typically are around how they will revolutionize specific key aspects around the financial system. When we talk about XRP, we always address cross-border payments. We talk about the big banks. We talk about, institutions, and we talk about how it's basically changing the way that money moves. Now, with XLM, it's also very similar, but it's more so for retail, right? I always talk about how XLM is banking the unbanked, how it's providing financial services for those that actually don't have access. It's basically turning your phone into a bank, allowing you to be your own bank. And a lot of this is where we start to see specific pieces changing. We talk about, the big banks. We talk about how banks are starting to change. We're starting to see institutions now embracing tokenization. Everything that we've witnessed in the last 12 months, it's really kind of supporting the fact that, yeah, we are starting to witness the global financial system changing. I mean, when you have Larry Fink on national television saying, hey, this is, when we talk about Bitcoin ETFs, it's not about Bitcoin ETFs, it's about tokenization of everything. Because listen, they understand what's about to happen. Everything's going digital. I mean, it just makes sense. And I mean, look at the world that we live in right now. If you go on Amazon, you could have groceries delivered to your house. If you go on Amazon, you could have anything delivered to your house. So everything is so digitally native already outside of finance. Finance isn't extremely digital. You might say yeah, it is. I could, go online and make a payment with my card, or I could send money on PayPal or Venmo or Cash App. But the problem is that, yeah, the interface has changed. Yes, you can make payments digitally, but to settle those, to clear them, everything in between, all the plumbing is still so old. It's essentially like, buying an old house and covering up everything with, just some paint. Yeah, sure, it looks good, but guess what? Everything behind that paint is still old. It's not updated. And it's the same exact thing with the financial system. For the longest time, we relied on just interfaces or small changes to be the big change. And now when we look at some of these projects like XRP, XLM, HBAR, or even Quant, we are witnessing some significant changes happening to the plumbing aspect. Now, QNT does not get enough love at all. It is a project that we were talking about quite a bit on the channel. And I know that a lot of you probably are saying Nick, why aren't you talking about it more? Guys, our overall target hit. It might have taken us 2 years to finally get that target. But if you guys do remember, back in October, back in November or so, around 2022, me and also an individual from the Discord, Encrypt30, have been calling for a $64 to $50 QNT. And if you guys look at QNT, it came down to about roughly $57. This was the prime time. And again, now as we look at QNT, it is starting to break over some significant highs. This goes all the way back to roughly December of 2023, back to, March, and even closer to April of 2024. So we're already kind of breaking over some key levels. Is a pullback going to happen? Probably. Who knows? But I do think that QNT is going to go much, much higher this bull run. I mean, if we're talking about a 10x from here, it's over $1,400. So that's nothing crazy to me. I think that that is going to happen. The supply for QNT is so low. And, if you really wanted to plant a long-term seed in this space, QNT definitely is one that you should be looking into. Now, let's actually talk about what's happening. So we are now in the month of December. And if you guys know about MiCA, MiCA is a regulatory movement happening in Europe. This is markets and crypto assets regulation. And essentially what this is going to do is it's going to bring in a complete regulatory framework in the EU to regulate crypto. And if we're looking at this, we know that by December 2024, basically all of this will be in place. Now, why is this important? Well, it's also very important for the US because even right now, as we look at this from December 2nd, Coinbase policy chief expects speedy approval of crypto laws following Trump's victory. And yes, this is going to happen, especially as we do have all these big areas around the world starting to push into, becoming regulated around crypto because they want to embrace crypto. All of this is a big process. It's all, steps to get to that, last phase, which is the integration of crypto within the traditional system, which is already starting to happen behind the scenes. We're just waiting for the regulations to actually be that big green light to really kind of switch things over, in my opinion. But yes, as we look at what MiCA is doing, I always looked at this as an accelerant. This is already going to start to, really move quickly, towards like 2025. But as we really look at the US market and, regulations, yes, we now have a new admin coming in. And I do think that we are going to witness some very significant changes happening around the US regulatory, space for crypto. And on top of this, we definitely have to look at some of these projects. Now, XRP, XLM, and even HBAR are all US based companies. When we're talking about Quant, they're a UK based company mainly. So does this pertain to them? I do believe that it still does because, if we go and look at Quant and we look at the UK market, they're already embedded within the UK financial system. Essentially, they're working with the UK government on a lot of big things, but also Quant is an enabler of the, crypto revolution. You got to remember that they actually created, Gilbert Verdian, who is the creator of Quant, he actually created TC307, which is the standardization behind DLT. Everyone always loves to talk about ISO 20022, but TC307 does not get looked at enough. That's actually enabling DLT to have standards behind it. And it's ultimately enabling the crypto economy to become a much bigger piece of the global financial system. But on top of that, right, we have to look at the US-based companies like Hedera because they are working with policy players, and they're also, supporting, policy within the US, especially around blockchain adoption, acceptance, and even regulations within this entire industry. And Hedera definitely is one. They're actually, sponsoring this year's BA Policy Summit. This is with Blockchain Association. And if you guys do know about the Blockchain Association, recently they were really kind of, sending over some alignments that they want Trump to really kind of be, focused on. Basically, was a lot of the changes that they wanted Trump to do. I don't know if I could find that, but we talked about it on the channel already. I don't want to waste your guys' time, but, they did send over recommendations to Trump on, how they can essentially move crypto forward in the US. And these are like the changes that they should be making. So I do think that the Blockchain Association definitely should be focused on, and with Hedera partnering up or technically sponsoring this year's BA Policy Summit, I think that this is a big game changer. And again, it shows you that Hedera is in support of regulations. All of these companies in this space like Hedera, Ripple, Stellar, they support regulations. And the reason why is because they have been working with policymakers. They have been working with the regulators. They want to be compliant. They want to work with these regulators because they understand how significant this space will be once the space is fully regulated. And even as we do look at Hedera, look at all the memberships and partnerships that they actually have around the compliance side. They're working with the Institute of International Finance. They're working with, the Blockchain Association, Tech UK, Blockchain for Europe, the UK Crypto Asset Business Council, the GBBC. I mean, these are some very significant players that they're working with, and it is all to support global policy and compliance around crypto. So as we look at Hedera, they're definitely there. They're working with regulators to make sure that, crypto is an industry that's going to be around for the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 plus years. Now, on top of that, going all the way back to September of this year, I have to highlight the fact that Ripple, Hedera, and even Aptos teamed up for MiCA compliance in the EU and sustainability push. So as we look at MiCA, it's like a ticking time bomb at this point. It's about to be enacted fully at the end of this month. We have to look at Ripple, we have to look at Hedera, and we have to look at Aptos as well. I mean, listen, there's a lot of great players in this space that are aligned perfectly with MiCA. I mean, you could even mention Cardano for an example. So as we look at what's happening here, yes, these are the big players that are behind the push for, compliance and regulations in the US and globally. And even Stellar, if we go all the way back to June 3rd of 2020, there was a great article, and this was compliance and the Stellar network. Now, this was with Elliptic. If you guys don't know about Elliptic, definitely, look into them. They're a big player, but this was a partnership, right? And it was a partnership to really kind of fully support, regulations and compliance for blockchain. Here are the key takeaways in terms of how Stellar has these built-in features that enable businesses to issue assets on Stellar. And this is all around compliance checks and regulations. This is also why when you look at Franklin Templeton choosing Stellar to actually tokenize a significant amount of money, I think it was like over $400 million or something like that. They did that because Stellar actually had everything in place for institutions to actually utilize the network and tokenize on the network because of all of the compliance and regulatory checks that they had. They also had the clawback features, like all of the features that actually supported regulations in the traditional world. These networks are ready. They are fully ready to take over once we do have regulations in place. Now, on top of that, yes, we have to mention Quant. Go back all the way to 2022. I mean, guys, this is right after Luna collapsed. This is just a few months before FTX collapsed. And this is an article that was written by Gilbert Verdian, A Sound Regulatory Approach for Digital Assets. And if we actually look at this, this was, again, talking about MiCA back all the way in 2022. New rules like the UK's Financial Services and Markets Bill and the EU's Crypto Assets Regulation, MiCA, should be welcomed, argues Quant's founder and CEO. So again, these companies are not trying to run from regulations. They're in support of regulations because as we have more Lunas and FTX, happen in crypto, what does that do? Well, it paints a very negative and bad picture for the entire industry. That's why I actually support regulations as well. This space is not going to be taken seriously until we actually do have regulations in place. It makes sense. A lot of people don't want to trust crypto. They still are. They have a bad taste in their mouth whenever you bring up crypto. And it's because of these politicians. It's because of what we, have been programmed to hear about, crypto. Oh, it's used for, illicit finance. It's used for this and that. And it's crazy to me because if you go and look at the dollar, you look at fiat currencies, what are they utilized for, right? Half the times it's for drugs, illegal activities. So as we really look at money, it's always going to be a big problem. But as we look at crypto, I mean, everything is on chain. Everything is fully transparent. So, a lot of those problems are completely, they're gone. I mean, yes, sure, there's going to be a lot of problems with it, but everything's trackable. It's all traceable. And I know that a lot of people are scared of that. And sure, it is scary. It's a big problem. But with privacy, there's a lot of things that can support privacy around crypto and even digital currencies. So I'm not too concerned about that. But ultimately, the big thing to focus on here is that these big players in this space like Quant, Ripple, Hedera, Stellar, they all support regulations. And it's because of what's actually happening. And even over here, we have from Gilbert Verdian, ultimately, appropriate regulation should be a force for good. It can put in place the infrastructure to complement our existing systems and encourage the exponential growth of new and better forms of money and digital assets, whilst protecting consumers and markets alike. And yes, this is exactly, what I've been really kind of focused on when it comes to regulations. Regulations are going to support these utility-based projects, allowing them to essentially integrate with the existing financial system. And as we look at Quant's always been there, right? Quant has been a very, very big player. And even as we look at regulations, we know that this essentially confirms that DLT, adoption and acceptance is only going to accelerate with regulation. Even here, if we go back to October 16th of this year, how DLT regulation will accelerate Europe's adoption of digital assets. Yes, because as we look at regulation, it allows the door to open for the big players like banks, institutions, even entire governments to fully embrace the tech. Here we have initiatives like the markets and crypto asset regulation and transfer of funds regulation are paving the way for institutional adoption of digital assets, writes our product marketing lead. Ultimately, they'll protect consumers while boosting digital finances, development, liquidity, and stability. But firms in digital finance need to stay informed and agile in response to regulatory changes. With digital assets poised to become a significant part of the global financial system, the technology behind them, DLT, offers a transparent, highly efficient, and secure way to modernize our current systems. Until now, institutional adoption has been hampered by regulatory uncertainty. That's changing. And yes, it changes this month. Once we see MiCA, it's going to accelerate the push in the UK, in the US, the UAE, all around the whole world. We are going to start to see significant changes. And even here, we actually have MiCA. December 2024 is the path for this to fully be accepted in. And it's going to change. It's going to change everything around the EU market. Now, of course, we look at all of these other things happening around this space. And, again, it's all to embrace the tech. This is all technology that is going to ultimately reshape our global financial system for the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 plus years. So as we look at this, I do think everyone should be focused on these projects and these companies in the space that are, opening their arms to, accept the adoption of regulations, because it shows you the path that we're on, and it shows you the players that are actually here, that are being very serious, that are legitimate, and ultimately will be fully adopted in once we do have regulations in place. The integration of DLT and blockchain into our global financial system is underway, and regulations are going to be a very big aspect of that to actually fully accelerate and, push forward to actually be integrated, and for essentially everyone to utilize the tech without even realizing it. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.